So this is for a nonprofit client that happens to be integrated, like in terms of like what they do with us, but their donation pages used to look like this, where the pill boxes and which were like old, and it had, you know, the yellow versus orange, and they got a lot of calls to their customer support team that basically somebody donated monthly when they meant to donate one time because they couldn't tell between the two which one was actually selected. So with our variation one, we changed it to orange and gray. This is one of their brand colors that has seen the most urgency in some of their, past test results. And, I think the gray being not selected made it a lot more clear that that was not the thing you were picking. So yeah, that is the orange version. And then here is the blue version. So we had the blue and gray versus orange and gray. And though you may not see it here, this was desktop and mobile. Our primary metric for success was just conversions. It's a pretty straightforward test. There are two variables here though, which is making these buttons more square, which is actually a brand thing we had to do that we just hadn't done yet. And then updating the brand colors and making that selection more clear. So there's actually three variables, really, we just needed this to be updated. That first experience was just so unclear. So anybody have any thoughts on which one you think won?
So when you get to that page, one of the buttons is always selected. Is there ever a time when you would have no buttons selected? Like you just land there and then you have to pick and then it fills in the rest? Or is it always,
there is always something on?
Okay.
Yep, so there is always, that is a great question. And honestly, something we should test, but I think it's actually a function of the donation platform that you have to have a cadence selected. You do not have to have an amount selected, but monthly versus one time has to be selected. Like it just won't load the page otherwise. It'll always default to one time. Okay. So this is the actual experience. So when you landed there, it had one time and it defaulted to 100. But when you hit monthly, it did not pre-select a monthly amount. We just copied exactly what control did. We didn't want to like mess with any of that. Those are our future iterations. It's like amount, ask arrays, order of ask arrays, pre-selection, custom amounts, like you're very familiar with, based on giving behavior. So those are the kinds of things that monthly or one time has to be selected, but once you go away from one time monthly, it doesn't have to pre-select the amount on this donate page. This is one donate page. It's their one, but that gets the most traffic.
And the difference between V1 and V2 is just the color of the 100%. Active button?
Yep. Hope you didn't see anything. It's just the color. So orange is V1 and blue is V2. We have hover states there because I'm really passionate about hover states, fun fact. So the hover state here is just like dark orange to orange and dark blue to blue. So that's the only difference down there.
And just to confirm, Katie, there was hover states in your control as well?
Yep.
Did you mention like what the primary metric for this was?
Yeah, it's conversions.
Okay.
Regular old donation conversions.
Got it.
Because this is kind of like a non-inferiority. We just wanted something better than what we currently had.
Have you considered doing like filled in, not filled in as the difference of CTAs, or just like having them? Because it's just like, to me, having two separate colors at all is confusing. Like when I'm looking at the clicked on state, I'm like,
you're talking about like inverted buttons?
Yeah, I'm like even more confused. Like I'm similarly confused
that was the
to the previous
test
experience.
Idea.
Yeah, okay.
This donation platform requires that buttons, their text has to be white.
Okay.
It is a limitation of the platform that we cannot override.
So then is there a reason that we can't just do two buttons of the same color?
Two buttons of the same color. Clarify that for me.
So like if they were both gray or both blue or both orange instead of this, because what I'm understanding from this test is like it's gray and blue and then you click it and it comes darker blue. So like then you have two blue, like it's still.
No, that's just a hover state.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, sorry, that's just a hover state.
So the clicked one is
it,
blue. It's like default selected.
Yep.
Oh, okay, interesting.
We wanted to do inverted because I think to me that is the most clear way of saying you have selected this button, but you can't have different text colors on buttons in this donation platform. So it has to all be white. So this was the darkest gray we could get and pass accessibility. Or the lightest gray.
This is the lightest. Okay.
Yeah, I went backwards with that. This is the lightest gray. The darkest would have been black, but the lightest gray we could do to make it look not selected and pass federal accessibility standards.
Got it.
One last question, and it has to do with mobile. And if you didn't test conversions on mobile, then it's doesn't really matter.
We did do mobile, it's just not here.
When you're looking at mobile and you see the 2 buttons at the top, can you also see the ones below? Because I think that really informs what is actually selected.
100%.
You can see the buttons. It's not below the fold.
Okay. So anyone reasonably would guess that which one was selected based on what was below that.
You're saying so like if the amount was 100 and it was like clearly monthly. Yeah, I mean it is in the same. It's not actually, none of them are above the fold, but once you scroll you see them both. So
okay.
I can't show you.
None of those are above the fold. Interesting.
And that is the test we're currently running.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm with you though, James. I like the fact that users have to do that like quick math to figure out like, oh, so orange is selected because only one of the asterisks is selected, and that's also orange.
Yeah, and the challenge there, and I think it has to go with the limitations of every action of the ESP is that when you toggle, does it keep, if you have a custom ask array, does it reset, or does it keep highlighted, or does it clear it out?
It's a custom ask array and it's in the URL it maintains.
Okay.
Yep. Great question though. Should we vote?
Yeah.
What do you guys think? V2 was our winner. Basically, I know V1 conversions on desktop were down 40%.
Holy macro.
I know, isn't that wild? But on mobile, the orange did it really well. The reason, this is a 20% increase on for the blue version in overall donation, it's a 20% increase on desktop and a 3 to 4% increase on mobile. So the reason that is like this 40% decrease on desktop is just like way too much, not a chance. And desktop users have a higher average gift. So we kind of prioritize, even if they are a little bit less than half of the audience, we prioritize their experience over mobile, like usually, because the mobile average gift is like $30 and the desktop one is like $180. Those are examples, not true. So those are not real numbers. I want to caveat that those are not real numbers. What I thought was super interesting is that is more because on mobile, about the same number of people were still engaging with the actual ask array. So they were like clicking numbers to try and donate something. On desktop, we had a 20% increase in donations, but a 4% decrease in the number of people engaging with the actual number buttons themselves. So what that says to me is people aren't fiddling around with the donate form as much. They're clicking their number, they're moving forward. So we've actually seen in the past that orange does do a lot for a sense of urgency, but people for this client, actually their users trust their brand blue more than they trust their brand orange.
Thanks for watching, and be sure to subscribe to have more test ideas sent directly to your inbox.